Austin, I don't know about you, but I've had a pretty productive couple of weeks. I ran a half marathon, I've been reporting a feature, I did some data analysis for the website. What about you?
I know we just had our most productive People's issue with Oprah on the cover, and I just feel like we could be up there.
One person who wasn't in that issue was Jack Dorsey. The guy was named CEO of Twitter, appointed a new chairman to Twitter's board. He announced layoffs of over 300 people, also filed for an IPO for Square, and came out with some new products on Twitter, yet the guy is still just being criticized right and left. What is the problem? Why can't Jack Dorsey catch a break? So one of the things about Square, though, is that for all the promise of that business, it's kind of become a little bit of a boring business that's running itself in a way. I mean, there isn't, the sense of the huge possibility and new horizons for Square that we used to have.
I actually think one of the most impressive parts about Square is that they've built up this massive brand around essentially a payments processing company, which is this sort of wonky back end that deals with financial intermediaries and MasterCard and Visa and Amex. And it's not that, if you put it on paper, it's not that compelling, but what Jack and Square has done so well is build up this sort of almost consumer-facing brand that people have an affinity for. I know these products seem small, like adding polls or adding moments, but I think they're just a sign that Twitter's starting to take advantage of a lot of the user base that they have, a lot of the sort of content they have, and I hope they start heading toward a direction that uses that content in a lot smarter way, in the same way that Snapchat has done with its live stories products or its Discover products.
One question is whether Twitter waited too long, actually, to make these changes and introduce the new product.
For people in media, I think it's very obvious. A lot of people call it sort of the chat room for reporters, because it's sort of this daily Slack-like atmosphere where we get to exchange information and gossip and things like that. For other people who are not sort of tapped into that Silicon Valley, New York, LA sort of gossip circle, it's not immediately obvious why they should be using the product or that they don't have to tweet to use it. And I think Jack implementing a product like Moments makes it more accessible in the sense that they package these things up for, let's say, the debate this week.
Yeah. On the layoffs, how much of a sign of weakness, if at all, is it that they are doing such a big round?
I think this is just a sign that it's becoming streamlined. Jack's willing to make some tough choices. I know that sort of the layoffs didn't go out as smoothly as they might have hoped, which caught them some bad press. But I think sort of starting from scratch, the stock price falling a bit will give them sort of take some of the pressure off.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think? Is Twitter with Jack Dorsey as CEO poised for even greater failures? Or is he going to be able to turn the company around while also taking Square to a successful IPO? Let us know on Twitter, #29th floor. Thanks, see you next week.